Hello, my name is Spencer Skeet. I'm a math teacher at Desert Oasis High School, and this is a video on creating a quiz and new quizzes. So I'm at the dashboard currently, and to make a new quiz for your course, you would click on your course. I'm going to click on a workroom. And in your course, you can click on quizzes. And then when you're in quizzes, you can add a new quiz. And you would instead of choosing classic quizzes, you would choose new quizzes and press submit. This is your typical assignment page where you can give it a title. This is title. You can give it the number of points. You can assign it a category. You can say whether it displays as a percentage or not. Okay? All of these things. And the one thing that makes this a new quiz is the fact that the submission type of external tool is automatically chosen. New quizzes is an external tool, and this is the link provided here. And then the rest of it here is you can assign due dates, just like any other assignment. Touch on this real quick because I love this feature here that you can assign unique due dates. Okay. Because I'm in a workroom, we won't see all of my courses, but you can assign a due date to period 1. All right, and then assign a specific due date to them. And then you can assign a different due date for your period 2. Or you can assign a due date to a specific student. Okay? And if you haven't tinkered around with that before, I encourage you to try that out. Because when I have a geometry course that has 3 courses cross-listed underneath it, I don't want a due date that's for all of them because I have block classes here at DO and I want a due date for my A days. I want a due date for my B days. And sometimes I tend to make the due date up until class starts. So I have it set to like 8:30 a.m., right? As opposed to just a generic 7 a.m. or 11:59 p.m. or something like that. So you can customize it as much as you'd like. And I really like that you can do it for specific students, especially for accommodations and whatnot, or absences, things like that. All right, so now we go ahead and build. I don't care that there's not a thing there. Okay. So now we're building. You can give it a different title here if you'd like. You can type in some instructions here. Good luck, all that type of thing. And then you can start to add questions. Here's the good stuff, right? Let's add some questions. I personally do not add questions straight into the quiz. That is not what I do. Classic quizzes and new quizzes, they have a wonderful feature called banks. So if I click the 3 dots up here in the top right and I click manage item banks, you can see all of the different banks that I have created. And banks, I will say this now, does not have the ability to create folders yet. Okay, so all of my banks are in one giant list, 15 pages long. That might seem overwhelming. It's okay, I deal with it. Create a beautiful naming scheme now. As you can see from my Algebra 2 class, this is Unit 1, Lesson 1, question number 1. Unit 1, Lesson 1, question number 2, so on and so forth. And you can see it transitions into Lesson 2, questions 1 through blah, blah, blah. Okay? So create a naming scheme that works for you that will keep it organized. So let's create a new bank. I'm just going to call it ZZZZZ so that way it goes to the very end. So when I create this bank, I can now start to add problems to this bank. Okay? What are the problems? Categorization. That would be like which of the following is an acid? Which of the following is a base? And you categorize them. Fill in the blank. Pretty self-explanatory. Matching. That would be match the quote. You can have multiple quotes over here to the person who spoke the quote, right? And you kind of drag it to the correct person. Numeric. That's if the question is a number. If the answer to the question is simply a number. How many gallons are in a blank? Okay, and then you just say the number. Essay, that's if you want to have them type a full-on multi-paragraph answer, explain to me the effects of World War blah, 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 right? You can have them type it all into Canvas. Formula. If you're a math teacher, you probably already use this and you're in love with it. If you're not a math teacher, you probably will never use this. Science, maybe. Science and physics, actually not a maybe. You could use that. That is a type of problem. Let me say it in 20 seconds. That's a problem where you can have it create fresh numbers for you every single time. Every student is getting a different number. The length of the stick is blank inches, and it always gives a different number for each student. Multiple answer, that's multiple choice, except there's multiple answers. Ordering, order these from least to greatest, order these from oldest to newest, that sort of thing. File upload, they upload a file. Hotspot, that's if you give them a picture and you say like, which of these objects on the screen is blank, elementary class, which of these is a square? Okay, they click on the square, right? Which of these paintings is from the Renaissance period, right? And they click on it, right? You can have a whole bunch of paintings and they have to click on the right one. Multiple choice, true or false, and then stimulus. Stimulus is, one of the things that comes to mind would be like a ACT question. You know how in ACT it says like read the paragraph. Questions 13 through 17 apply to this paragraph. That's what stimulus is you can have a picture or some sort of writing, and then there are questions that are like beside the picture that go along with the picture, if that makes sense, right? So it's like those questions, 13 through 17 with this, 18 through 20 with this. And they are called stimulus. This part is the stimulus. The picture, maybe an AP test for art history or something. Hey, look at this picture here, painting. Answer these questions about the painting. Who's the artist? What's the period? The medium, things like that. And this is where, and you would add questions into this bank. That was a lengthy description for all of those questions, but I want you to know what they all are. And you put them all in banks. Why do you put them in banks? Why is that my favorite thing to do? Well, when you put it in a bank, I personally don't want every single student to have the exact same questions. That's not the point of the test to me, especially when there's going to be retakes allowed, right? You don't want the student to be retaking the same test over and over. You want them to be taking the same type of test over and over. So, or a quiz or assignment. So in this bank, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions about inequality notation. They all ask essentially the same thing, and I want them to answer one of those questions. So when I hit it to the bank, so I kind of did that as I was talking. Let me do that again. When I click the plus button and I hit the piggy bank, I can see all of those banks. And then I pick the bank that I would like the question to come from, and I click add all /random. And now currently it says it's asking all 8 of the questions from the bank. I can click on the question and say randomly select one question and give them 1 point for that question. And now it's choosing one of those problems at random. So when a student begins this quiz, they will see a question about inequalities, but the person next to them is not seeing the same exact question. It's choosing randomly from the bank. And so my naming scheme, as I've done here, as I continue to click through, I can add, the next question. I wanted to choose one of those at random, so on and so forth, right? You see what I'm doing there? And I'm building my quiz. So you want to ask a question about this, that, and the other. Make some banks around those questions and then add them in. Even if you only have 2 different questions about that topic, that's better than only one. I am not a fan of the student seeing the exact same quiz as the person next to them. I like that it's about the same topic, but it's not identical. And, especially for not just tests and quizzes, but for assignments, right? If you allow multiple attempts on assignments, you encourage it because you want them to get extra practice. No one's getting extra practice out of seeing the same problem multiple times. They're getting extra practice by doing similar types of problems over and over. So if you have the ability to make those banks, I would encourage you to do so. So I've spent a lot of time on banks and adding questions. I apologize that we're already at 10 minutes, but there's a lot going on here with new quizzes, and I hope you've learned something at this point. So you created the quiz, you assigned the quiz, they've taken the quiz. What happens then? Well, you go to reports, and this is a fake quiz that I've created, and I don't want to reveal any names, so I won't look at anything else. But you can get quiz and item analyses here. Okay, you can look at it question by question, overall, averages. There's lots of good data when you click on reports. And when you assign your first new quizzes and you get that feedback, go check this out, and you'll see a lot. You'll see a lot of things here that may or may not be valuable to you. It depends on your style. One other thing about building that I didn't mention, I apologize, is settings. Here in the settings, you can choose to shuffle the questions. Shuffle the answers, what does that mean? If it's multiple choice, it will shuffle all their answers, or if it's ordering or matching, all the options get shuffled. You can make it one question at a time if you'd like. If you don't do that, they can just scroll the entire thing, or if you want them to have to click next to go to the next problem, you can do that. You can have an access code, so you don't want them to just be able to open it and do it whenever they want. So you can type in whatever you want here, any sort of gibberish, and that becomes the access code. You can create a time limit. Maybe you only want them to have 10 minutes. Maybe you want them to have a full hour. Whatever your heart desires there. Filter IP addresses, that's really high tech, and I've never used that before. Allow a calculator. Basic scientific for chemistry and physics and other classes like that. Make your decision there. Allowing multiple attempts. Allowing multiple attempts is something that you can do as well. You can make it unlimited. You can limit it to a certain amount of attempts. And what I really like too is you can require time between the attempts. So they can't just take it back to back to back. They have to pause. They have to rest, forcing them to practice or review before making that second attempt instead of just trying to guess their way to 100% or something like that. And then lastly, restricting student result view. If you don't click this, they can see their results, they can see what they got right, wrong, etc., etc. Again, I'm sure we've all had our experiences with cheating, especially during this online time. If you allow that to be visible, they can pull that up, and then when the person right next to them wants to take the test, they can see the questions that their peer just got right and wrong and go, oh, I got that one right. Oh, you got that one too? That's the answer, right? I know it can be beneficial for students to see their results. I understand that. But at the same time, depending on the atmosphere, depending on the environment, that might not be the best choice. So if you click restrict, they can't see anything. But you can choose to reveal certain items to them. You can show them the points that they earned, but you can't show, but if you click show items and questions, now you're letting them see the questions. If you just want them to know their score, boom. If you want them to be able to see the questions, well, then that's what you want. If you want, you can even say, if you don't click that box, they won't see their response. They just see the question, but they don't even know what they answered, right? You can reveal as much as you want. And if you check all of the boxes, that's the same thing as not even turning it on at all. And now lastly, the last thing about new quizzes here is moderate. Moderate is something that you can do when students are actively taking the assignment or quiz. For me personally, I really like this what it will do, all the students' names will be here. Okay, all the students' names will be here, and you can see who is in progress. And if there's a student sitting in your classroom and they're listed as, incomplete or has not started, you can go, hey, Jeremiah, what it says right here, you haven't started. Can you please get started for me? Or you don't have to call them out in front of everybody. You could just hover over it. You could walk over to them and be like, I saw that you haven't started yet. Can you please, right? That sort of thing. You can see all that. You can see their attempts, how many attempts they have used. Moderate. It's a word that makes sense to us all. And this little navigation tool here, attempts left, attempts in progress, submitted, auto, all these different options. Okay, I know this is a lengthier video. I apologize. But that is new quizzes. So many options. Building, banks, organizing your banks, placing the problems from the banks into the quiz itself, changing the settings, looking at the results after the quiz has been taken, and actively managing the quiz as it's being taken. I hope you learned something about new quizzes. And if you need my help on anything, or if you want to ask me any particular questions about, certain question types, I'm more than willing to answer those questions. My email is skeess@nv.ccsd.net. I'm Spencer. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day whenever you're watching this. Bye-bye.